when knowledge stopped belonging to experts. For centuries, knowledge moved slowly and hierarchically. It lived inside institutions, guarded by credentials, language, and access. Expertise was scarce by design, concentrated in places that could afford to preserve it. If you wanted answers, you went to the expert. And if you were not one, your role was to listen. This structure created a clear boundary between those who produced knowledge and those who consumed it. And that boundary shaped how authority, trust, and progress functioned. That hierarchy was not accidental. Knowledge was expensive to store, difficult to distribute, and fragile to preserve. Books were rare. Education required proximity. Training demanded years of mentorship. Institutions became the natural containers of understanding because they were the only places capable of sustaining it. Expertise in this world was not just about knowing more. It was about being positioned where knowing was possible. That structure shaped how societies made decisions. Authority flowed from specialization. Trust followed titles. Understanding was filtered through institutions that decided what counted as legitimate knowledge and who was allowed to hold it. Progress depended on experts translating complexity for everyone else, acting as both interpreters and gatekeepers of reality. The system was slow, but it was coherent. Then something fundamental shifted. The change did not come from a single invention or ideology. It emerged from accumulation. Storage became cheap. Distribution became instant. Retrieval became effortless. Knowledge escaped the physical and institutional constraints that had once contained it. Information that required years of training to access could now be summoned in seconds without mediation or context. At first, this felt like pure liberation. Barriers fell. Learning accelerated. People could explore subjects once locked behind academic gates. Tutorials replaced apprenticeships. Forums replaced seminars. Answers appeared without intermediaries. Knowledge no longer required permission, affiliation, or endorsement to be encountered. But access is not the same as expertise. This is where the story becomes more complex. When knowledge stopped belonging exclusively to experts, authority fractured. The distinction between knowing and understanding blurred. Information arrived stripped of hierarchy, context, and uncertainty. Facts appeared alongside speculation, theory beside opinion, all presented with equal immediacy. The medium flattened differences that once mattered. The old system relied on scarcity to signal value. When knowledge was hard to obtain, effort acted as a filter. Expertise required time, discipline, and immersion. The new system removed scarcity but did not replace the filter. Volume replaced depth. Speed replaced synthesis. Familiarity replaced mastery. This changed how people related to knowledge itself. Instead of being something slowly accumulated, knowledge became something quickly consumed. Questions were answered instantly, but rarely absorbed deeply. Understanding became fragmented across sources rather than integrated within minds. People knew more facts, but held fewer frameworks. Information piled up, but meaning lagged behind. Experts felt this shift immediately. Their role changed from gatekeepers to participants. Authority was no longer assumed. It had to be demonstrated repeatedly, often in hostile environments where trust had already eroded. Expertise competed with confidence, and confidence scaled faster. Clear explanation mattered less than persuasive delivery. The conflict emerged when expertise lost its signaling power. Credentials no longer guaranteed trust. Experience no longer settled debate. In open systems, claims spread based on appeal, not verification. Knowledge that fit existing beliefs traveled faster than knowledge that challenged them. The same tools that democratized learning also democratized misinformation. This did not mean experts were wrong. It meant expertise was no longer enough. In a world where everyone could access information, the value shifted from possession to interpretation. Knowing facts mattered less than knowing how to weigh them, connect them, and revise them. But those skills are subtle, difficult to demonstrate, and slow to acquire. They do not scale as easily as opinions or certainty. As a result, knowledge flattened. Complex issues were reduced to sound bites. Nuance struggled to survive systems optimized for engagement rather than understanding. Disagreement hardened, not because people lacked information, but because they lacked shared standards for evaluating it. Knowledge stopped being cumulative and became competitive. The emotional weight of this shift was profound. Experts felt ignored. Non-experts felt empowered. Institutions felt undermined. Trust fragmented across communities rather than consolidating centrally. Authority moved from credentials to networks, from depth to reach. Influence followed visibility rather than rigor. And yet, something genuine was gained. People were no longer passive recipients. Curiosity flourished outside formal structures. Innovation emerged from unexpected places. Insight appeared without institutional backing. Knowledge became participatory rather than inherited, dynamic rather than static. The problem was not access. It was alignment. Without shared methods for judging reliability, knowledge became tribal. Groups formed around narratives rather than evidence. Fact became negotiable. Expertise was accepted only when aligned with identity. Understanding became something defended rather than revised. This is where the deeper consequence appears. When knowledge stops belonging to experts, responsibility shifts to everyone else. Individuals must decide what to trust, how to evaluate claims, and when to defer. That burden is heavy, and many were never trained to carry it. Judgment became unavoidable, but preparation did not keep pace. The old system outsourced judgment to institutions. The new system demands judgment from individuals. And judgment is a skill that develops slowly through exposure to uncertainty, error, and revision. Without that training, confidence fills a gap where understanding should be. What replaced expertise was not ignorance. It was fragmentation. Each person built a partial understanding from available pieces. Some built carefully, others built hastily. The results looked similar on the surface, but behaved very differently under pressure. Consensus became fragile because foundations differed. The climax of this story is not collapse, but tension. Society now lives in the space between democratized knowledge and distributed misunderstanding. Experts still matter, but their role has changed. They are no longer owners of knowledge, but stewards of method. Their value lies not in answers, but in how answers are reached, tested, and corrected. The resolution is not to return knowledge to experts. That door is closed. The resolution is to rebuild literacy around uncertainty, evidence, and revision. To teach not just facts, but how knowledge is created, challenged, and improved. To make expertise transparent rather than authoritative, and method more visible than conclusion. When knowledge stopped belonging to experts, it did not disappear. It became everyone's responsibility. And whether that becomes a strength or a vulnerability depends on what replaces the old filters of trust. Because access alone does not create understanding. Only shared standards do.